Thank you, gentlemen. With that, recognize Governor Sanford.
Good to see you again. Pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for your forbearance in working your way through the list of attendees. Couple quick questions. One is, a basic accounting rule is to match up long-term liabilities with long-term assets and vice versa with regard to short-term obligations. And so, in as much as there have been three different conversations with the last three speakers on mass transit, it seems to break that rule, as we both know, in that a number of things have been hobbled to the trust fund that don't contribute to the trust fund. So you have a mismatch from a funding standpoint, irregardless of the merits of the different, programs that have been added, whether it's with the, alternative programs in terms of bicycle paths and whatnot, or indeed with mass transit. Why not go back to the simple core of that which contributes to the Highway Trust Fund, gets money from the Highway Trust Fund? Why wouldn't that be a sensible idea?
Well, I'm not sure what mechanism one would use to support the transit needs of this country. And so,
Well, I mean, if general fund, general fund seems to be yanked on from a lot of different spots, and this would go on the list.
we solve this problem by creating a transportation trust fund, calling it that, and having it supported in part by this pro-growth business tax reform.
But if we were to go back in time, folks that stood in that same spot that you're sitting in would have said the exact same thing about the origination of the Highway Trust Fund prior to these different bells and whistles getting added to it.
Well, I have to concern myself, and I would urge the committee to concern itself with what's actually happening out in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is these choke points that exist on our highways are going to increase. And we've seen examples where you add a lane of highway to relieve that congestion, and it works for a year or two, and all of a sudden population comes in and you're in the same place you were. So if we want to be on that treadmill, I think it's going to mean more traffic, longer travel times. That's not to say that we don't need strong investment in our highways. We do.
Why not more experimentation there in alternate pricing? I think, if I'm not mistaken, outside of San Diego, and I know a number of other countries around the globe, have gone to basically premium pricing at premium travel times for additional capacity, not existing capacity, but additional capacity. And in some cases, it's worked to alleviate travel because, you could pick up your groceries, at 5 o'clock, or you could pick them up earlier or after, and there's a real, difference there in terms of traffic load. Why not more experimentation and more flexibility with regard to premium pricing?
Well, on that score, we agree with you that experimentation should be an option, but it should be an option at the local level, and the department should have a role in deciding whether that's an appropriate use of, for example, tolling. And so we don't purport to toll every single stretch of highway across the country, but if a given governor wants to experiment with it, we think they ought to at least be able to make their case.
Two quick, I see I'm running short. One question not related to the Highway Trust Fund bill is, I know we've been waiting on a DOT report with regard to truck weight since, I guess it was around November. Where are we on that? When can we expect to actually see that report?
We're pushing as hard as we can. As I said before, we've promised the stakeholders on all sides of this issue very robust stress testing that they would be involved in, including public input. And so we still have steps to go there, but my hope is we get it done as soon as possible.
Why not more in the way of devolution? Some people have said the way that you solve our highway problem is more in the way of devolution back to states, because the current model, in essence, favors old infrastructure over new. It favors areas that maybe aren't growing as much as other parts of the country are. Why not more experimentation on that front as well?
Yeah, I think we've got a bigger problem than a highway problem. We've got a mobility problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the mobility problem has lots of dimensions to it that include highways. And so I don't think we can go back to 1956. I think that would be a mistake, because the country is moving in a very different direction. These baby boomers that are now more populous than the I'm sorry, the millennials that are now more populous than the baby boomers.
Can I really interrupt? I see I've got 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Throw one last question. You may have to get it submitted in writing.
Yeah.
But just, you know, one other way of stretching, obviously, highway trust dollars ties back to Davis-Bacon. As we all know, there's a premium on cost of construction on federal projects versus not. Why not use that as another way of stretching highway trust fund dollars?
Well, if I can answer, okay. I'd like to finish what I was saying,
Okay,
which was that
all right.
millennials are moving an entirely different way. They're moving closer in. They're using bikes and other things. They're sharing cars, using zip cars and stuff. And I don't think we should plan for a system that was 1956. We need to plan for 2045. So that's on that point. On the other points on labor, look, I think we firmly believe in the American worker having a shot at jobs that build up our country, and we don't yield from that.
Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanford.